If you eat food at these 7 popular restaurants, you might be putting your health at serious risk. We investigated all major restaurant chains operating in the UK, from their supply chain sources to the ingredients they use in their food and the sanitary conditions of their kitchen, to find the 7 worst offenders you're better off completely avoiding. Starting with Wetherspoons, walk in one and you'll see a menu promising fresh cooked meals at prices that seem too good to be true. That's because they are. Here's what actually happens. Your curry arrives frozen in a plastic bag. Staff microwave it for 2 to 3 minutes. Your rice, 2 minutes in the microwave. That pasta you ordered, microwaved. Even your breakfast, those poached eggs aren't cracked fresh. They arrive pre-poached in plastic bags and get reheated. The bacon, pre-cooked, just warmed on the grill to create those appealing char marks. Employees have a nickname for the microwave. They call it Chef Mike, because it cooks most of what you eat. A former chef who worked 5 years at Wetherspoons confirmed what you're probably thinking. The steaks always looked awful. I never ate one myself. That's significant, because Wetherspoons serves 200,000 steaks every week across 900 pubs. When the people cooking your food won't eat it themselves, that tells you everything. But here's where it gets disturbing. Recent investigations found the Russell Hugh meat supplier, which provided steak to every single Wetherspoons location, was systematically relabeling use-by dates across all 6 production facilities. Food Standards Agency inspectors discovered serious non-compliance that was systemic and widespread. The company collapsed. 302 jobs lost overnight. Wetherspoons had to withdraw 200,000 steaks per week from menus. Think about that scale. Every Tuesday steak club night serves 90,000 steaks alone, all of them potentially from relabeled meat. Kitchens are set up like assembly lines with 2 to 6 microwave technicians during busy periods. The Bellhanger pub in Chepstow became infamous when an ex-employee posted videos showing mouldy food, dirty microwaves, and piles of unwashed dishes. Here's the disturbing part. That location had received a 5 out of 5-star hygiene rating just weeks before the footage emerged, which means either conditions deteriorated rapidly or inspections aren't catching what customers see daily. But nothing compares to what happened at the Furness Railway pub in Barrow-in-Furness. Hundreds of customers became violently ill within 48 hours of eating there. One customer described being up all night being sick for 2 or 3 days. Wetherspoons closed the entire pub and hotel, admitting there has been an outbreak of sickness among staff. A professional deep clean was required before reopening. Here's what you need to understand. When 98% of Wetherspoons locations hold 5-star ratings, but these incidents still occur, it reveals how the rating system itself is broken. Your Chef Mike is working overtime, and nobody's checking if what comes out is actually safe. Nando's, contamination, and chicken horrors. Gary Jones worked the late shift at Harvey and Brockless Fine Food Company, a supplier to Nando's, the Ivy, and other major chains. For 1 month, CCTV captured him alone in the storage area doing something that could have killed hundreds of people. He inserted rubber gloves, plastic bags, and metal ring pulls into hummus tubs and salad dressings. He mixed fish sauce with soy sauce, creating severe allergen risks for customers with fish allergies. He poured fish sauce into non-fish dressings. He mixed sesame and chili sauce into products that shouldn't contain them. CCTV also showed him mixing an unidentified substance into raw ingredients destined for next day's production. The only reason customers weren't poisoned is that products passed through metal detectors and triggered alarms. The contamination was discovered before distribution. Jones was arrested and sentenced to 42 months in prison. The prosecutor stated, Jones knowingly and maliciously contaminated food products that were going to be distributed to some of the most popular high street restaurants across the country. 24 hummus tubs were contaminated, multiple salad dressings, all destined for your plate at Nando's. But this deliberate sabotage pales against what happens on Nando's chicken farms. Undercover investigations at Cambria Farm in Somerset, a Facenda Group supplier with over 150,000 birds, documented hundreds of chicks dying every day for several days. Bins outside sheds were full of tiny bodies, still with their yellow baby feathers. Birds suffered from painful lameness, in obvious discomfort attempting to walk. Many were unable to stand and reach water. They had red, raw sores from constantly sitting in ammonia-soaked litter because they were in too much pain to walk. By the final investigation visit, sheds were so crowded it was difficult to walk through them. Birds were on their backs, slowly dying because they couldn't stand up and couldn't reach water. Workers were filmed dumping a live chick into a wheelbarrow with dozens of dead bodies and leaving it there for at least an hour before returning to snap its neck. Other footage showed workers kicking birds during daily checks and breaking their necks, with some birds still alive and flapping their wings as workers carried them around. This farm held Red Tractor certification. It continued as a Nando's supplier after the investigation. Follow-up investigations at 3 more Facenda farms found dead birds left to rot inside overcrowded sheds on every single visit. At Evanley Farm, investigators found bin bags full of rotting dead chickens inside one shed. Dead birds left among the living led to cannibalism. Birds as young as 7 days old were seen struggling, collapsed under the weight of their unnaturally large bodies. Nando's response: "We are disappointed with the footage." No public disclosure of sourcing changes followed. The farm continued operations. When your chicken lived in ammonia-soaked litter, died slowly from being unable to stand, and was kicked by workers before slaughter, that peri-peri flavour hits differently. KFC UK, when 750 stores run out of chicken. A recent logistics disaster became the fast food industry's most spectacular failure. DHL took over as KFC's new logistics partner, operating from one warehouse in Rugby versus the previous supplier's 6 warehouses across the UK. Within 4 days, 750 of 900 UK stores closed. Over 3/4 of locations had no chicken. The new Rugby depot wasn't properly registered with local authorities to store chilled food when operations began. Chicken shipments spoiled in the depot as drivers waited hours for entry. The just-in-time delivery model had no error margin. Same-store sales declined 6.8%. Full-year profit dropped 27.8%. KFC published the now famous FCK apology ad, showing an empty bucket with rearranged letters. It went viral. It won awards. Everyone praised KFC's crisis management. But here's what the viral ad didn't mention. They chose the cheapest logistics bid from a supplier with no fresh food experience, cut off the previous supplier completely overnight with no transition period, and created a disaster through pure cost-cutting. But the real horror is what happens inside individual KFC locations. At the Leytonstone KFC in East London, environmental health officers discovered a rat infestation throughout the premises, after a customer found rat droppings inside a cheeseburger wrapper while eating. Investigators found decomposing mouse remains throughout the outlet. Droppings in the main cooking section, droppings next to a tray of cooking utensils, droppings in the hot holding food preparation area, and rat droppings in a box containing caramel drizzle drink sauce. The pest control company Ecolab had a contract for twice-monthly inspections, but somehow missed obvious signs of infestation. The restaurant was closed for 10 days. Customers were forced to leave immediately. At court, franchisee Triple D Limited was fined £22,000 plus £2,339 costs. Director Abdul Darawala received £1,115 plus 446 victim surcharge. Total penalties £24,784. The Bicester KFC in Oxfordshire was prosecuted for a cockroach infestation, dead flies and filthy conditions. Total fines and costs £37,395.88. And recent testing found 40% of frozen raw chicken samples in retail were non-compliant, containing undeclared or excess added water. You're paying chicken prices for water weight. Employee testimonies reveal the reality. Nobody wears gloves. They don't wash their dishes. They just spray and leave all the grease on. Another stated, they smoke weed in the back by storage and the sink. One employee claimed managers favour some employees and let them sit in their office, while the two miners on duty have to take orders, cash people out, pack food, and sometimes even cook. When your chicken restaurant can't get chicken for a week because they went with the cheapest bid, and locations operate with rat droppings in the caramel sauce, you're not getting finger-licking good. You're getting whatever survives cost-cutting. Greggs. The frozen truth behind freshly baked. In January 2025, the Food Standards Agency issued an urgent allergy alert. Greggs 2-pack steak bakes sold at Iceland were actually filled with sausage, bean and cheese melts containing undeclared sulfites. Sulfites can cause respiratory issues and allergic reactions, especially in people with asthma. Products incorrectly packed in wrong packaging. Nobody knows how many mislabeled packs reached customers before the recall. But this packaging error reveals a bigger deception. Greggs' entire fresh-baked marketing versus the frozen reality. All savoury pastries arrive frozen from 9 regional bakeries. Sausage rolls, steak bakes, chicken bakes, cheese and onion bakes, manufactured at regional facilities, frozen, then distributed. The official Greggs FAQ states, "Our savouries are baked fresh in our shop ovens throughout the day." Technically true, they bake frozen pastries in small batches. But here's the deception customers never realise. Those display counters aren't heated. They're lit for display only, not temperature control. This is deliberate VAT avoidance. Heated food carries 20% VAT. By keeping food unheated, Greggs avoids the tax. Products cool naturally after baking, which explains the universal customer complaint about cold food. A former manager confirmed, it's not actually under a hot counter, so when it comes out the oven, it's going to get cold. You have to get there at the right time. You're not getting hot food. You're getting recently thawed and baked food that's cooling to room temperature while sitting under lights. The Iceland frozen range launched years ago and is expanding to 800 plus Tesco stores. Consumer taste tests note Iceland frozen versions have large air pockets and runny filling compared to the shop versions. Because they're the same product, you're just doing the reheating at home instead of paying Greggs to do it for you. Employee testimonies reveal operational pressures. Short-staffed most of the time. Managers have little training on HR, so issues swept under carpet. And serious food safety, so make sure you comply. One stated, just free coffee while on shift as the only perk. Subway UK. Mystery meat and expiration date fraud. Recently, the New York Times commissioned DNA testing on 60 inches of Subway tuna sandwiches from 3 locations. The result shocked the industry. No amplifiable tuna DNA was present in the sample. The UCLA Barber Lab tested 20 samples from 20 locations. 19 of 20 samples had no detectable tuna DNA whatsoever. All 20 samples contained chicken DNA. 11 samples contained pork DNA. 7 samples contained cattle DNA. A separate lab, testing by Inside Edition, did confirm tuna in samples tested. Subway created SubwayTunaFacts.com to defend the product, claiming cooking denatures DNA and makes testing unreliable. But when multiple independent labs can't find tuna DNA in your 100% tuna sandwich, customers have legitimate questions. The Irish Supreme Court delivered another blow, ruling Subway bread isn't legally bread due to 10% sugar content, 5 times the Irish legal limit of 2% sugar. The court ruled Subway bread qualifies as confectionery or fancy baked good, not bread. But the truly disturbing evidence comes from employees themselves. Reddit posts show managers ripping off date stickers and replacing with new ones on spoiled food. One employee posted video with the caption, "My boss makes us change the day dots. Food is nasty and spoiled." Multiple employees confirmed, "I worked at a Subway who did that exact thing. Just pick away the moldy bits. If you throw any food away, it costs this store a lot of money." Another stated a manager would chop the bad parts off the tomatoes and then cut it like it was new. The most damning testimony, food would last a couple weeks beyond expiration by repeatedly changing date labels. Chicken teriyaki should be thrown out by the 5th day, but a lot of employees just changed the date to avoid throwing it out. This means 5-day chicken could be out as long as 9 days. Tuna was always several days older than expiration. They tended to just cover the date label with a new one to avoid making more. At one store, old tuna just got mixed in with new tuna, and people usually didn't notice. An employee kept frozen bread for over a year. It was so old that the yeast had died, causing the bread to not rise. The Enfield Town Subway was prosecuted after environmental health officers found mouse droppings in the cupboard on the first-floor customer seating area, a live mouse stuck to a glue board trap, rat droppings near the rear waste pipe, drain flies throughout, mouse droppings in the till area, and rat droppings in a box containing caramel drizzle drink sauce. Total fines and costs, £20,928.77. A recent Plymouth incident saw Subway on Old Town Street displaying a 4-star rating on the window, when the actual FSA rating was 1 from the previous inspection. They were caught displaying fraudulent ratings to mislead customers. The most disturbing UK incident occurred at Brownhill Subway, when employee Richard Benjamin Shannon was caught on mobile phone footage stuffing lettuce up his nose, blowing it back out into the customer container and spitting from his mouth back into the serving container. He was charged with contaminating, interfering with goods with intent to cause economic loss and public alarm. Employee testimonies reveal lettuce was often turning by the time it got to the store, with most locations receiving produce only once or twice weekly. When employees systematically change expiration dates, DNA tests can't find tuna in your tuna sandwich, and Supreme Courts rule your bread is legally cake, you're not eating fresh, you're eating fraud. McDonald's UK, the mouse in the caramel sauce. At the Leytonstone McDonald's, a customer made a discovery that would lead to the largest fine in UK fast food history. While eating a cheeseburger, they found mouse droppings inside the wrapper. Environmental health officers discovered decomposing mouse remains found throughout the outlet. Mouse droppings on the floor of the food preparation area. Droppings in the main cooking section. Droppings next to a tray of cooking utensils. Droppings in the hot holding food preparation area, and mouse droppings in a box containing caramel drizzle drink sauce. Despite paperwork claiming cleaning schedules were completed, the premises showed poor hygiene throughout. The pest control company Ecolab conducted twice-monthly inspections, but somehow missed obvious signs. The restaurant was closed for 10 days. Customers were asked to leave immediately. At Thames Magistrates Court, franchisee Triple D Limited and director Abdul Daruwala faced charges resulting in a £475,000 fine plus £22,000 costs, the largest penalty in UK fast food prosecution history. A council official stated, "McDonald's is a large and well-experienced food business operator. Therefore, the risk presented at the Leytonstone store was significant. But the mouse problem is just one issue. Recent investigations found over 100 current or recent McDonald's UK workers experienced harassment, bullying, or sexual assault. The company received over 400 complaints in a recent 5-month period, sometimes 2 per week. With 170,000 plus workers across 1,450 UK restaurants, the scale is massive. Then there's the ice cream machine sanitization crisis. McDonald's uses Taylor Company machines that are extremely complex and lock out completely if cleaning cycles fail. Only Taylor-certified technicians can repair them. But here's the health risk. Maintenance workers install jumpers, metal or plastic brackets that bypass cleaning lockouts. Taylor Company classified this as a very serious issue, warning jumpers can greatly increase the risk of serving unsafe product to the public. The bypass allows machines to skip critical cleaning cycles, letting dairy product build up in a cold, moist environment. A former employee reported, "We had weird white alive things in the machine with the ice cream." Commercial ice machines should be cleaned twice yearly minimum, but violations are common. Dirty ice can contain dirt, dust, germs, mold, bacteria, slime, and fecal matter from poor hand washing. In Louisiana, an employee posted photos of a moldy ice cream machine tray showing sticky goo and mold and black dirt. He was fired after 5 months for posting the evidence. Night shift workers report particularly dangerous conditions, typically 3 to 4 workers per overnight shift versus 10 to 15 during the day. One case saw an 18-year-old work 7 consecutive nights, 8:15 p.m. to 6:15 a.m., with only 45-minute breaks. Between midnight and 5 a.m., workers receive just £1 extra per hour premium. McDonald's has exceptional beef sourcing transparency, 100% British and Irish beef with no trimmings, no mechanically separated meat, no binders, no fillers. They refuse to disclose chicken sourcing details publicly, despite journalist inquiries. When your restaurant has decomposing mice in the caramel sauce, over 400 harassment complaints in 5 months, ice cream machines with weird white alive things due to sanitization bypasses, and refuses to disclose where chicken comes from despite full beef transparency, you're not getting consistent quality. You're getting whatever survives in a broken system. Pret à Manger, 2 deaths that should have never happened. Natasha Ednan Laperouse was 15 years old when she bought an artichoke, olive and tapenade baguette at Heathrow before boarding a flight to Nice. 30 minutes after takeoff, her throat became itchy. Hives broke out. Her breathing became laboured. Her father administered 2 EpiPens. A doctor on the plane gave additional epinephrine. Nothing worked. Natasha went into cardiac arrest and was pronounced dead at a French hospital. The baguette contained sesame seeds baked into the dough. There was no allergen information on the packaging. None. Just general signage on the display fridge that Natasha never saw. Here's what makes this a corporate crime. Pret had received 9 sesame-related allergy complaints in the year before Natasha's death. 6 of those complaints involved the exact same type of artisan baguettes. 4 customers ended up in hospital. One woman nearly died from anaphylactic shock, and her family directly warned Pret that other serious adverse incidents could easily occur. Pret made no labelling changes. 0. They had 9 warnings. They did nothing. The coroner called Pret's labeling inadequate and said the company was evading the spirit of the legislation. No criminal charges were filed because Pret was technically compliant with existing law. The law itself was playing Russian roulette with people's lives. Then Celia Marsh died. A 42-year-old dental nurse and mother of 5 bought what Pret marketed as a vegan and dairy-free super veg rainbow flatbread in Bath. Within 15 minutes, she collapsed in the street. Less than 2 hours after her first bite, she was dead. The investigation revealed criminal negligence through the entire supply chain. The flatbread contained coconut yogurt manufactured by Planet Coconut. The yogurt used a stabilizer that was cross-contaminated with dairy during manufacture. The manufacturer's own documents flagged this risk. They never passed that information to Pret. They never tested batches to verify their dairy-free claim. A product labeled dairy-free killed someone with a dairy allergy because nobody in the supply chain verified what dairy-free actually meant. Celia's daughter stated, "Mum's death was entirely avoidable. If Planet Coconut had passed on the warnings in their possession to Pret a Manger about the risk of cross-contamination, Mum would still be alive today." These deaths created Natasha's Law, which now requires full allergen labeling on all pre-packed food. Former employees revealed that baguettes are bought from a factory in France and rebaked in stores' loaf tanning salons, as critics call them. Soups arrive in plastic bags from factories and are reheated in water baths, often reheated 3 to 4 times against safety protocol to reduce waste. Since the pandemic, sandwiches now carry use-by dates and are carried over to the next day, contradicting the entire freshly made premise. When the marketing says fresh, but 2 people are dead from unlabeled allergens, you need to ask, what else aren't they telling you? 100,884 UK food premises are overdue for safety inspections right now. Scotland has 20% of food safety roles vacant. Inspection sampling has fallen 79% in recent years. Only 5 public analyst labs remain, down from 9 previously. Food crime costs the UK economy £2 billion annually. Yet only 16 prosecutions per year reach court, despite 610 suspected cases. What you see on the menu isn't what's happening in the kitchen. The marketing promises fresh, safe, quality food. The reality is frozen, reheated, relabeled, and uninspected. If you want to watch a video like this one, click the video on the screen. Hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.